What's up, my wizards? Dev from MtG, and we got a thing for you today that we never do, but we always get requests for: a modern deck. Well, I like weird, funky decks that do different stuff, because you don't see it every day, and we get tired of just swinging in with creatures or countering spells, so other cool ways to win the game are always fun. Everybody likes to mill as well. So I was sort of cruising around for modern decks, and I found this thing that a lot of people are talking about right now, and I can't take credit for it. This is Zach Elsic's Lantern Control, and the deck is like really fun and interesting, has a lot going on, and takes a lot of practice to be able to pilot correctly, but once things start clicking for you, the deck is just hilarious and frustrating for them to play against, and it's so much fun. So this is Lantern Control. If you haven't heard of it yet, then here's the most awesome thing going on in Magic right now. Well, the deck only plays 3 creatures, 3 copies of Spellskite to start things off. Yeah, they're going to be trying to blow away some of your stuff, and Spellskite makes it way harder. I mean, we all know that Spellskite's an important card in Modern. It's gotten way up there past, any price that it ever should have stopped at. I mean, over 20 bucks is crazy for this thing. But it's because it's really important, and it keeps your things from getting blown away in this deck, and we've got ways of getting it back. It's just, Spellskite is awesome. It's super awesome, and we need it in this very badly. On to the spells, there's a lot of them. 4 copies of Ancient Stirrings, one of the most important cards in the entire deck. 5 cards is a lot of cards to be looking at to get any artifact in the entire deck. Really important card. Only 1 mana is a steal for this kind of ability, so all 4 copies, yes. We're playing some Disruption here. 4 copies of Inquisition of Kozilek and 2 copies of Surgical Extraction. Both really important. They just help you out in the early game, and I just can't say anything about these cards that isn't completely obvious. Disruption is one of the most important plans in all of Magic, and especially Modern, So yeah, let's play these, because they help our opponent to not do things. Now, Zach has fiddled around with the deck over the last couple of months, and this slot is flexible in a couple of ways. Sometimes he'll play 2 copies of Thoughtseize in this slot, and other times he'll play 3 copies of Gitaxian Probe and cut the Ghirapur Aether Grid that's down there, way down there in the deck. So sometimes he'll play the 1 copy of Aether Grid, sometimes not. But sometimes you'll see the 2 Thoughtseize and the Ghirapur Aether Grid. Sometimes you'll see 3 copies of Gitaxian Probe in Zach's decks. I actually do like the Gitaxian Probe kind of an awful lot, one way or the other, we're taking 2 damage. We're losing 2 life, So as far as, do we want to draw cards or do we want to disrupt them? Sort of a metagame call in a lot of ways, and I don't really like cutting the Ghirapur Aether Grid. It's kind of a weird card to be in the deck, but again, playing like 25, 26 in some iterations artifacts in this deck. So yeah, that's actually pretty good in stall situations and stuff. It's not a bad option to have. Brings versatility to the deck. So I do like Aether Grid in there, but Gitaxian Probe is really good. So you can sort of fiddle around with these 3 cards and slot them how you will, And Zach is also playing 2 copies of Abrupt Decay for obvious reasons. I mean, again, I don't have to go too much into this. It's just premium removal in the Modern format, and just always good to have. Yes, Abrupt Decay. 25 other artifacts besides the Spellskite in the deck. That's an awful lot of artifacts. So let me go ahead and start with sort of the stuff that's not the combo. Combo is sort of a soft lock. People keep calling it a hard lock. It plays like it is, but it's technically a soft lock. So let me go over sort of the other utility artifacts that we're playing, as I've already gone over the utility spells. We're playing 3 copies of Pithing Needle in the deck, sort of a catch-all in a lot of circumstances, Modern relies on creatures and obviously planeswalkers and such with activated abilities, as well as artifacts and stuff. So it's just, a very important card, obviously, Pithing Needle. Again, a catch-all against a lot of strategies in the format. Mox Opal, right here, we're playing 4 copies of it, and that lends to the strategy of, this is sort of 4 more of our lands right here. But we don't have to play that many lands. Mox Opal helps us with that too. We are playing 2 copies of Pyrite Spellbomb as well in this deck. Spellbomb helps us out, again, a little bit of versatility. We can not only blow creatures away, but we're playing 2 copies of Academy Ruins in the land base, which helps us establish sort of the Spellbomb lock, We can always put this on top of our library, deal 2 damage to them every turn, which clocks them, Always a good strategy, and it only costs the 1 mana. I mean, Pyrite Spellbomb, I think, is He's done the right thing by putting this in the deck. 4 copies of Ensnaring Bridge in this thing, and this is one of the most important cards in the deck too. We're going to empty our hand pretty quickly in this deck, and Ensnaring Bridge just means like they can't attack us. For the most part, they can't do it. So Ensnaring Bridge really important to grind the game out, which is exactly what the deck wants to do. One of the more important cards in the whole list. let's get on to the 3 cards that win you the game. I mean, I've already told you a couple of ways to win the game. Europe or Aether Grid is a way to win the game. Pyrite Spellbomb Lock, that's a thing. Here's the way to win the game, though. We are playing 4 copies of Lantern of Insight, 4 copies of Ghoul Caller's Bell, and 4 copies of Codex Shredder. Now, Ghoul Caller, now, let me go ahead and tell you about Lantern because that's what the deck is called. It just happens to be called Lantern Control because we'll always be able to know what they're about to draw, you know, play with that card revealed, buddy. And we can make them shuffle. We can make them shuffle if we don't want them to draw an amazing card, you know. But 9 times out of 10 we'll use the other 2 cards right here to just deal with stuff that's on top of their library that we don't want them to draw, you know. Both Ghoul Caller's Spell and Codex Shredder can basically just keep them from drawing amazing cards. The whole point of the deck is that they never draw anything that will do anything for them. You know, the plan is to make them just draw junk or lands for literally the entire game, which is not hard considering these cards cost so little mana. And Codex Shredder has the extra option of being able to get stuff back from your graveyard, which you do all the time, as a matter of fact. Very, very important ability on Codex Shredder. So there's that. But for the most part, you just get a Lantern out, you always know what they have, and, you know, Ancient Stirrings helps by making sure that you get your Lantern very quickly in the game. And if you can just deal with their first few turns of action, then very often you can lock down the rest of the game as far as them drawing something that they need. So, and sometimes you can establish that by the second turn, you know, just first turn Lantern, second turn either of the other 2 cards, and you just start stopping them, basically. The deck is very, very frustrating to play against because it just basically eliminates any chance of you getting the things that you need to deal with it. Zach's playing 17 lands in the deck, which is plenty, it turns out. And Academy Ruins obviously does so much more work than just getting Pyrite Spellbomb out of the graveyard, you know. Anything they happen to remove, and Spellskiting is included in that, you can totally just get back. So, I mean, Academy Ruins is always amazing. And we do want to play the 2 copies even because the Legend rule, you know, who cares? We've got to see this card. Here's Zach's sideboard right here, mostly against aggro because the first couple of games, or first couple of turns, is all we're really worried about covering, you know. If we don't cover the first few turns well, then we're going to get run over, you know. And so most of the sideboard is just dealing with heavy aggro. And that's pretty important for a deck like this. Pyroclasm really helps you deal with a lot of threats, you know. And you can gain a lot of life off of Sun Droplet, you know. So a lot of stuff going on against aggro in the sideboard, because that's all we're really worried about. I have slapped up power rankings here, but I'm not too sure. I've played maybe 6 games with the deck against a couple of different things. Won every single game, so seems like a pretty powerful deck, but it's so funky that it's hard to assign power rankings to, so don't take these too seriously. For a modern deck, the deck is fairly inexpensive. I mean, it could be way worse for playing modern here, and it's just the most fun you'll ever have playing Magic. I mean, I love decks like this, always have. Super frustrating, feels like a combo deck. People like to mill, and this is probably the best mill deck I've ever seen. It's way up there, like top 3 mill decks. That'd be an interesting video. But anyway, I do want to do top 8 decks someday. But anyway. I think that's all I've got for now. This deck is so much fun and awful to play against, so there's an interesting dichotomy there. Hope you don't sit across from it, but I do hope you're shuffling it up. I'm Deb from MtG. If you enjoyed the content, do us a favor, like, share, comment, and if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. We are trying to grow even more. And yeah, you guys are helping out with that a lot. Thanks. Thank you so much. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers, which is unfreaking believable. I'll see you guys next time, man. I'm Deb from MtG. Thanks for watching, my wizards.